Alright, let's do this again. Model creation day 2, snapping tools. Alright, so if you guys notice that on your tools, on your keyboard, the way I like to look at my snapping tools, they're laid out from X. Can everyone see this? X, C, V. It's not the largest image. You can see. So X is snap to grid, and I like to think of that as the grid perspective. If you guys can remember that. X, snap to grid. C, snap to curves, pretty much self-explanatory. And V, snap to verts. So X, C, and V are your main hotkeys for snapping. You also have them on your go back to display, UI, show all. They'll all also appear as well. If I mouse over this, snap to grid, little magnet, snap to curves, snap to points, also called snap to vertices, snap to view planes, which I never use, and make this selected object live, which we won't use in here. Sometimes when you're clicking the hotkey in snap to grid, sometimes this becomes active. So if this becomes active and you have your UI turned off and you're moving everything, you notice there's a little circle here in the middle of your manipulator. You start moving, you say, why is this stuck like this? What's happening? But if you press X, it goes back to being normal. This may happen for some of you guys. Just realize that this sometimes automatically gets turned on. So let's go back to our keyboard real quick. There's my keyboard. I want to talk about this layout. For me, I don't really have hotkeys on this side of the keyboard. Here. I don't do control, hold my finger here, and then stretch my thumb all the way over here. That's ridiculous. You know. And if you are left-handed, I recommend over a period of time using control and going to a hotkey over here instead of leaving your hands and going over here. I'm talking about efficiency and speed. I try to keep my left hand, that's my left hand, on this side, and my hand on the mouse on this side. I don't like to, again, I want to have hotkeys that can work on this side of things. So for you guys, basic standard movement here. Q is your selection tool. W is your move tool. E is scale. R is rotate. And this is your move section. This is move. Move. If we come down to the next three keys, if you are an animator, S is your keyframing. D, very important, we'll be using this. This is to toggle the manipulator. And that means when you go from, I'm still in my drawing tool, hang on. D, frame for F. G, last command used. This is also important as well. And then we can go back to our snapping tools. And then these are also other hotkeys as well. But these are the main three keys that you'll be using right here. In your first row, your move tools, the framing, last recent commands, and the manipulator tool, and your snapping tools. Of course, Z, undo. So this is very, very important for you guys to get used to. I don't want to see a lot of this. Going up to the menu, looking for what you need. Going over here to select scale. Nobody does that. So like I said, D, toggles manipulator. Look at this, right here. I'm not moving the object, I'm moving the manipulator. Now I can move the object. I can do that with D. You can also press input, or the insert key, and you can actually move that, and then press the insert key back. So now that we've gone over that, let's go over the snapping tools, the different functions of snapping. The first one, pretty much self-explanatory. Snap to grid. I have the grid up. I hold X. And you notice in the middle of my snapping tool, that little circle, it goes to a circle, it's saying that a snapping function is active. And I'm going to move this. I can just grab the middle and move it. Or I can grab an axis and move it. And you notice the axis that I grab becomes highlighted, and it's the only one shown while in translation. So that's snap to grid. We'll go to snap to vert before I discuss snap to curve. Snap to vert, I hold V, and then I middle mouse, and I'm snapping to the vert of another object here. That's pretty much self-explanatory. I can do the same thing. You see that it's like it has a particular tolerance. If I'm all the way out here holding snap to vert and I start moving this, it gets within a certain zone, the nearest vert, and will snap to that particular vert based on the axis. Often we'll probably be just using snap to vert. You just go to the vert and touch the vert that you want. Very helpful for placement, very helpful for modeling. You can even, when you extrude an edge, you're going to snap to vert just like that. Make things a lot simpler, a lot easier. Because you're looking in a 3D space, you don't have time to line things up. I'm a big believer in letting the computer do mathematical things because I'm not good at math. Alright, let's draw out a curve. Go to the side view here, front view. Let's get rid of this grid. Go to create, CV curve tool. I'm just going to draw out some curves here. So snap to curve can be very tricky because, like the other tools, on this one I want to take my object and want to move the object here to this point here. So I'm going to hold V, snap to vert, and then I'm going to snap onto the vert. I got it to that point. So in this case, I have to snap the curve. A lot of times people get confused and try to move the object onto the curve. You have to hold C and hit the curve because you're snapping to the curve. You'll notice that I'm just moving along the curve. It has a tolerance too. If I pull too far out, it's just going to jump out. But the more I hang to the curve here, or as I like to say in my videos, ride the curve, then the easier it is. This is very important for building the car, and some of you may get confused when you go to snap your points to the curve and you're holding C and you're moving this. You're moving the point to the curve. This is incorrect. Nothing will happen here. You have to snap to the curve. Snap to the curve. You can even snap to your own curve. These edges are actually a curve. See that? It's riding the curve. Even though it doesn't even draw it out there, it's still riding the curve. This is very important for when you start modeling the car. Another important thing, we talked about the manipulators, the axis being highlighted when you are actually using that particular axis. A lot of times people will do this. I want to move this out from here, but I can't because this axis is highlighted. If you notice, when I start to move, it only stays along the curve. It only stays along that curve. And I'll move and such like that. What you need to do, you have to realize if it starts moving like this, it's only moving in the x-axis, or that particular axis that's highlighted. If I move over here and I try to hold C, it's not going against the curve. it'll snap to the curve like that, but it's not moving. Hit W to reset. You'll notice that nothing's highlighted yellow, and then try it again. That's the fix for that. That's a very common thing that you'll run into. So to recap really quickly, this is your move tool, your selection of move tools right up here. Why is the last tool used? Throw that in there. I use that a lot. Manipulator. Toggle manipulator is D. F is for framing. G is last recent commands. And these are your snapping tools. If you hit Alt B, you can change your background. If you're not happy with that, go to black. Go to default. Lighten it up. Go back to the default. Alt B. Control A, attribute editor. A frames the object. A frames the scene. F frames the object. When I talk about last recent commands, this is your last recent commands. If you go to the hotbox, I click this off. I'll turn this page off. I'm going to use a tool called split polygon or insert edge loop. I'm going to use this here. I want to use that function again. I'm going to hit my last recent commands. Notice that comes up. Last recent commands. I'm hitting G. My last tool used was the insert edge loop. I hit Y. The same thing comes up. You want to be a fast modeler? These are the ways to do it. And they didn't draw through. So get used to this. I'm going to push you guys on this. I want to see term 12 be just as efficient and fast when you guys finish this class as some of these guys are already working in the field.